Hello, and welcome back to the Learning Curve podcast for our next exciting episode. I am so excited to have this episode today with my good friend Ricky. And we are going to get into some information that I think is going to be so helpful to so many people, specifically around how you go through a breakup and move on after a relationship has ended. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and get right into it. Ricky, introduce yourself to us.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name's Ricky. I'm 30 years old. I'm an IT analyst from Jacksonville, North Carolina. I've been in the Richmond area for about 2 years, and I just recently got out of a relationship that was about 13 months long. Longest relationship of at least from an adult perspective of my life. So I'm just in a unique space right now, but I'm really
Okay.
looking forward to actually expressing some of the feelings and the experiences that I'm currently going through right now.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you agreed to do this podcast with me and being able to share your vulnerability and kind of what you've been going through emotionally, I think is not only brave and courageous on your part, but I think it's really going to be helpful to a lot of people who may be going through the same thing that you are going through right now. So let's get into it. Tell me a little bit about your relationship and how it came to the point that you decided that you needed to move on.
Yeah, that's that's always people have asked that a lot, and I've been thinking about this question for a long time when you finally sent it to me, and I I want to start from the beginning.
Okay.
I met my partner 2 days before 2023, so around December 30th. We met
Okay.
at a mutual friend's party.
Okay.
We connected organically, face to face, no Twitter or Tinder, IG. It
Right.
was you meet someone organically in the real world,
It was the old
and
fashioned way.
the old fashioned way. And we hung out at the party, and I got to know her. And turns out through communication, she actually lives in the same apartment complex that I did.
Okay.
And I walked her to her apartment, but we just decided to just stick around and hang out for a bit and just talked all night. And
Wow.
I think I didn't get back to my apartment until 4 o'clock in the morning because I was just so enamored with the communication that we both had. I didn't want it to end. Um, and I felt this is a little different for me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
uh, I started talking to her more consistently. It just moved, organically into a new space of, well, I want to kind of date this person. And we
Hmm.
dated each other for about 13 months. And we had so many wonderful experiences together. We got to travel together. We got to explore new and exciting experiences together. Um, and it was lovely. However, there were some experiences that I was dealing and some feelings that we're having about the relationship that I knew just wasn't right.
Hmm.
It wasn't as fulfilling as I initially was thinking about or thought it was going. I was dating with purpose. She was dating with purpose, but I think our pace was a little bit different.
Hmm.
And it felt like every time that there was a key moment, at least from my perspective, a key moment in the relationship, I was the one to initiate, and it just didn't feel like it wasn't being followed. It didn't feel like we were on the same pace a lot.
Okay.
And we had a few moments of uh, almost breaking up, but I think either through my stubbornness, not wanting to quit, or just not reading the room, I I
Mm.
I uh, I didn't listen, and I didn't hear her feelings and emotions. I was just more focused of like, well, how can we? I'm a person that likes to figure out solutions to a lot of things and trying to figure out what I can do to take ownership and can take control of it and how I can fix certain things.
Mm.
And I got to a point around about April where, and it's funny, we did it right after our big trip we've been talking about for months. And after our vacation together, I prayed for about a week because I knew after the trip, it was just a little bit different, and
Mm.
I felt that it was time for a change. And we both decided on a Saturday morning at a local fitness center
Mm.
to yeah, that's a workout for sure.
For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, that's a
We're going
great.
to work out physically and emotionally today.
Yes, yes. We're gonna sit down here. We're going to work out on our hearts. Yes, 100%.
Wow.
Yeah, and we decided mutually that it was time for us to grow separately
Okay.
and break up. It was a it was a really tough decision.
Hmm.
It's still tough to deal with. I have my moments of sadness about it. I still reminisce and think about, well, what could have I've done differently? What could have been different about the relationship for us to still be together?
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, I do know that I made the right decision, and it was just time for us to move on, and so um, we can just find the right people that we want to have in our lives that fit
Sure.
us together. So,
Sure. Well, thank you for taking us kind of through the evolution of your relationship. I love how organically it started for you two. It's kind of like the story that you hope for, that you see played out in movies where two people meet at this, random situation, and it's just this immediate connection, and they talk all night long and they're thinking about each other the next day, and it just moves forward. So it's almost poetic how you guys started, and it sounds like there were some ups and downs, but overall, it was an experience that you were looking for at that time. Well, how are you feeling right now? How have your emotions kind of evolved since the breakup?
um, they've been everywhere. I told my family, I wish I didn't like her. I loved her. I
Mm,
still love her. I wish it was a really bad breakup. I wish it was like, well, I cheated on her or she cheated on me and we had this giant fight, but it wasn't that way.
yeah.
We came together and we knew that even though we love each other and we care about one another, we just aren't the best fit.
Mhm.
And right now my emotions are always changing. Some days I feel like, you know what, I'm moving in a new direction. I'm moving forward
Mhm.
and I'm feeling great about everything. And then there are other times when, especially when I see other friends and family members talk about their relationships and see that level of connection, not within my own life, but within people around me, that I get a little sad because I
Yeah.
knew I used to have that.
Yeah.
And now that is no longer the case.
Yeah.
And it, I really wish fluid is the best word I can say. My emotions are very fluid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that you have been doing a lot of reflecting on the relationship and kind of what went well, what didn't go so well. A lot of hindsight, a lot of kind of Monday quarterbacking in terms of
Right.
things you could have done differently, what should have happened, what I should have said, not said. What, after all of that kind of reflection, what do you think were some of the main reasons that this was no longer a relationship that was serving you or meeting your needs?
I think there were two big things. Is that one, I didn't really express what I needed,
Mhm.
and I never really vocalized what I needed effectively. I'm always been a person of, well, what can I do to service that person? What can I do? What can I change about myself so I can be, or that person can have me in their space in a more comfortable manner?
Mm.
Um, and that's something that I have to work on because
Yeah.
I knew for me, I got tired of doing that because it's not just within my own relationship, my love life. It's also in my career,
Mm.
and sometimes that just gets very tiring.
Yeah.
And I felt in the relationship I was starting to shift and try to make so many different changes so we could be together.
Mhm.
And even though I was willing to do that, because I always believe that with a relationship, you have to make sacrifices and you have to be able to change within the relationship for the relationship to be successful. but there also comes a certain point where you can't change the fabric of who you are.
Exactly.
And I felt like I was doing that.
Yeah.
And so that was a really big marker for me, that I was starting to change and evolve myself to the point where I was starting to feel like I was going to become very dull and sad,
Hmm.
because I knew I wasn't living in the way that I want my relationship to be in. I wasn't the version of who I wanted to be within
Hmm.
that relationship,
Hmm.
but I was the version that my partner wanted me to be.
Wanted you to be. Yeah.
And it just got tiring. It
Yeah.
really did.
Yeah. Just as you were describing that situation, it made me kind of think of a chameleon and
Mm,
how whatever the environment is, they change their color and kind of their outward appearance in order to blend into that environment. And it sounds like that's what you were doing a little bit. You were changing kind of the fabric of who you were in order to blend into the environment that was created in the relationship by your partner. But I wonder if you blended in so much that you actually became a different person.
yes, and I don't think I became a different person, but I was, and I love chameleon was is such a great animal to pick from.
Yeah.
Um, I always think of being adaptable as always a great characteristic or a
Hmm.
great skill set to have
Sure.
in life, because adapt or move on.
Hmm.
That's always been a mindset for me. But I think being adaptable also comes with a sacrifice of saying, well, if you're that adaptable, then that means that you don't really have a foundation of who you are as a whole.
Mm.
And now, as a 30-year-old man getting out of a relationship, I had to learn that I don't really know I know what I need, I know what I want, but I don't know how to express it. And I don't
Hmm.
know how to take ownership of it and saying, this is what I need, take it or leave it.
Hmm.
And, you know, it just, again, the phrase was just feeling like it was just too much for me to do all the time.
Right.
Um, and my partner, she was changing just as much as I was, but I
Hmm.
also knew that she was probably going through the same, anxiousness and, feeling of, well, this is not really what I want this relationship to
Hmm.
be right now.
Hmm.
And we both knew that that's probably not the best way to feeling, and we were starting to build resentment, and I
Yeah.
didn't want that to be the case. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
So, since this is the Learning Curve podcast and it's all about kind of life experiences where there is a learning curve and the lessons that we learn within that curve, what do you feel like you've learned about yourself through the experience of having this relationship and then the relationship ending?
Whew. I learned a lot about myself in that relationship. I think what I take what I take from that relationship the most is, one, I can be in a committed relationship with somebody, and I was
Okay.
ready and willing to go above and beyond for my partner,
Mm-hmm.
for the success of the relationship. I also learned that what I need in the relationship matters too.
Mm-hmm.
It absolutely matters. Another thing I learned is that it's okay to walk away from something even though it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the time when people from the outside see us, it was like, wow, you guys look so good together.
Right.
You guys are having a good time. Y'all guys are traveling. You guys are always moving and grooving. It must be good. And it was. It was really good. But I also know that sometimes being good isn't always good enough, especially if
Yeah.
you're not getting your needs met.
Yeah.
And being able to walk away from something like that is very scary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and from for history of my past relationships, it was always the woman walking away from me, which is totally fine. But for me to initiate it and at least have part ownership of why we both decided to move on, um, honestly, a little empowering. Um, I remember the feeling after the breakup. I was driving home crying,
Yeah.
but there was a sense of a weight being lifted off of me, because I
Mm-hmm.
knew that now now this is done. This
Yeah.
all this prayer, all this, you know, meditation has like bared fruit for me to know that, okay, it's time for you to move on and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this person didn't cuss you out. This
Right.
person didn't question your loyalty. This person looked at you and said, I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such a beautiful thing for me to learn in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, those are some of the key things I took away from my relationship too.
Those are some really powerful lessons, and it sounds like that the experience really taught you a lot about what you can do, what the potential is for you in a committed relationship, and kind of like you said, that you are 100% ready to pursue that. So I think that that is definitely a take home lesson for you to kind of hold dear. And I love the idea that it wasn't this kind of nasty drag out fight where everybody was calling everybody out of their name and
Right.
let me block you and get on this and say this about you. It was two adults kind of realizing that their journey together had ended and kind of uncoupling in a really respectful way. So I know that I definitely honor that you went through that and how you chose to go about it.
Yes, I never would have thought that that was going to be how that relationship was going to end in that way.
Yeah.
Because I really did think that it was going to be the final one. I was
Mhm.
like, this is it.
Yeah.
And I was really content and happy with the decision of, this potentially might be it. But sometimes when you're so goal oriented within a relationship or with anything, you might not notice all of the things that you're not receiving within the relationship for you to
Mhm.
be able to get to that final,
Mhm.
that final moment, or that goal of marriage and building a
Yeah.
family and all that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it, whew.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was it was a tough one, but I just really I was just so happy how we both handled it. I really
Yeah.
was.
Absolutely. So let's kind of switch gears a little bit. We've kind of
Mhm.
talked about context of the relationship. We talked about how we kind of got to this point where the relationship had to end. So now let's talk a little bit about coping and how you kind of deal with the aftermath of losing this relationship that has meant so much to you and kind of been so much part of your life and your routine for 13 or so months. What are you doing? What kind of activities, what kind of things are you doing that are kind of helping you to distract yourself and heal?
Man, it's funny the day that we broke up, we went to the gym and we left the gym, and then literally the next day I went to the gym and I just started working on myself.
Yeah.
Um, I love going to the gym. I love lifting weights. That has been such a good. It's a great stress reliever for me.
Mhm.
Taking walks with my dog. Um, he's he's in the crate right now, loving to death.
Rio.
Rio, the Labradoodle puppy, who weighs
Yes.
40 pounds, 45 pounds now. He is a
Big
biggin,
boy.
big
Big
boy, seven
boy.
months. Yeah, so he gives me a workout every morning, just taking him for a walk because he's just excited to attack the day. And also him, like having
Yeah.
him there.
Mhm.
I don't recommend it, but if you ever have to get broken up with, have a dog or a pet near you
Yes.
because they will
Yes.
definitely help you support while you go through
Yeah.
that transition in your life.
Absolutely.
um Friends like you that reach out and check on me, and just say, hey, we have something going on this weekend, you want to come hang out?
Yeah.
Hey, there's this event going on, hey, let's go see a movie. you
Mhm.
know these are the things that help me cope and deal with the breakup. So being very active and just not staying in the house and just being
Mhm.
kind of like a hermit. Although
Yeah.
I have my hermit days, there's definitely moments where I feel like I don't really want to go out or do some certain things. So I just want to sit in my own space for a
Of
minute.
course.
But it's also great to know that, hey, there's people out here who love you and care about you, and they just want to make sure you're good. And just being out there and just like Richmond is a place that is so wonderful. Has been so wonderful
Mhm.
to me in my adult age, and just exploring the city and
Yeah.
just meeting new and unique people and having cool experiences. Now traveling,
Mhm.
I've gone to. I mean, I haven't gone out of the country yet, but I've gone to Charlotte for Memorial Days. Went to Memphis for some work stuff. Getting back home to Jacksonville to see my family, like just getting out of my own little individual space for a day or
Right.
two
Right.
has given me, a fresh perspective and just given me a
Mhm.
new energy and new life, especially when I get down on certain days. So,
Of course. Stepping outside of that kind of safety bubble, it kind of helps you reinforce that, oh, the sun does still shine in the real
right.
world, and that it isn't all just kind of gloom and doom, and that there are things to admire, that you push yourself even on those days where you don't feel like you want to, or you just want to hibernate, that you do, but that you also listen to that, so that you're not forcing yourself to be out in the streets all the time if you're not feeling it, but you are trying to stick to the consistent routine that you've created for yourself, especially related to kind of your self-care and your health and your wellness.
Yes. Yes, that self-care part. That's another thing. Like I'm starting to get manicures and pedicures now more often.
Hey.
Yes, I gotta get some. I can't show my nails right now, but like I got plans, man. I got real plans that I'm gonna go head out and pay my little $40 to get my manicure
That's
and pedicure
right.
done and
That's right.
get these feet smoothed off and all that
Yes.
stuff. So
Yes. Get them
gotta
summer ready.
get them somewhere ready, man. We got friends in our group that have immaculate, nails. I can't
Mm,
say the people, but definitely they know they know who they
they
are,
know.
and
They
they know
know
who
who
they
they
are.
are.
And for that person, listen, I know you got blessed, man. You got a
Yes.
system, man. I figure you out. So
Yes.
yes, but just the self-care. Oh my goodness. Taking another thing I learned from my partner is she would used to call it having like solo dates with yourself.
Mm.
Um
Mhm.
and she was religious about that, especially when we were in our relationship where I was like, "Where you going?" She's like, "Oh, I'm just going to DC." I'm like, "Okay, can I come?" I was like, "No, I just need a day." I was like, "Huh, okay." So what's that? And I didn't know that that
Mhm.
was something that couples can do where they just take a day for their own
Ah.
selves. And it was kind of, I ain't gonna lie, in the beginning it was a little annoying, but I also, as I learned and had my own self dates while we were in the relationship, I was like, wow, this is actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
So taking myself to a nice restaurant, doing an activity by myself,
Mhm.
just being in my own space and doing the things that I really want to do without having any level of responsibility or
Mhm.
anybody else, needing to coordinate with other people. It's just,
Mhm.
I want to go here. I want to go to ML. I want to go
Mhm.
bowling. I want to go to River City Roll. Wherever I
Yeah.
want to go, I can
Yeah.
go. And yes, those are amazing for me as well.
Well, it sounds like kind of stepping into this realm of self-care and really trying to optimize and prioritize your interests, the
Hmm.
things that are for you, that energize you, that refresh you, that help take care of you. And you spend a lot of that energy taking care of someone else in the relationship as well as yourself. But now the care is different. It's kind of a healing and nurturing care, as well as kind of a building up and empowering care as you kind of get ready for the next phase in your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I I think the next phase is always the most exciting part of it because now I'm getting to learn myself and it is exciting. Like I'm
Hmm.
very excited about to broaden my horizons. I just got done with the allergy test so I can figure out what types of foods I can and cannot have.
Yes.
So just doing those simple things, it may
Hmm.
be small to some, but it's really big steps for me. Um just being a little bit more open on all these new experiences
Hmm.
and just and once I have these new experiences I can make a decision on whether this is something I like to do, this is what I don't like to do, but at least I get a chance to try and see
Right.
what it looks like and not
Right.
have to be so regimented about this is what I do, this is what I don't do,
Hmm.
and have a little bit more of I would say ambiguity, but just be a little bit more open.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's
Adventurous.
adventurous. That is
Mm-hmm.
it. Oh my goodness, and adventurous. Like I doing the things that I haven't really had the chance to do
Mm-hmm.
or was afraid to do.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can still step into it with courage, but I'll still be a little nervous. Like I want to go to Myrtle Beach and do some wave running or do a sea do or something like that.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm excited. So, sending photos soon, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to do those types of things, traveling internationally.
Mm-hmm.
I doing that on my own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are some of the things that I would love to do.
Yeah.
And it's honestly it's going to be a little scary, but I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited to just go out there and just explore the world. Like it is so refreshing for me to be able to like do that. And I
Right.
haven't had that mindset before. Or maybe I've had small moments of having that mindset,
Mm-hmm.
but not nearly as strong of a mindset that it is right now.
Right.
Um, my dad always tells me, he's like, "Hey, son, the world's your oyster, man. Just go out there and live it, man." And I'm just like, "But you don't go out nowhere." He's like, "Oh, I just, but I have to look back." And I was like, "Well, he's 70
he's
years
he's
old.
already lived.
Yes, like he went to, I don't, his passport is full of different,
Yeah.
locations, due to the military and stuff. But, Australia, going to Afghanistan, like going to all these other different countries, Germany,
Mm-hmm.
and he explores it, so now he can chill. But
Mm-hmm.
now, for me, I get to explore it, and I
Yeah.
get to do it on my own way, on my own terms, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, yeah, and you should be, because you deserve this. This is
Yeah,
definitely how life should be. It should be full of moments and collecting all those moments. And this is a really great segue into kind of the next topic about what does moving forward look like? What are your
yeah.
thoughts on dating again in the future?
Oh man. So my thoughts on dating in the future, I'm pretty sure I'll get to the point to be more driven about finding, Mrs. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Um but right now I'm just kind of enjoying the flow of things, not very focused on relationships right now. If I
Mm-hmm.
meet someone who's very lovely, um I'm definitely going to go shoot my shot and we'll see how that
Mm-hmm.
goes, but it's not a
Mm-hmm.
focus for me. I think the biggest thing was before I met my partner, um, I I got ghosted from a previous person that I met, and I remember when that happened, I was up all night, kind of questioning why did she do that? Why
Mm-hmm.
was that the process? But then
Mm-hmm.
I got my notepad, my notebook, and I just started writing down the things that I wanted in a partner, and I prayed
Mm-hmm.
about it,
Mm-hmm.
and it was almost like a week later. That's when I met her,
Wow.
and I prayed. I said, God, listen, I want to be super focused and driven on finding the right person for me. And he presented her to me, but I think because God works in weird ways, so like
Mm-hmm.
he'll present a person for you, but that person might teach you or set you up for the next thing.
Yeah.
And that is what I've learned about the relationship that I was in now. But right now, my focus is to focus on me, not
Mm-hmm.
focus on being in a relationship, not focus
Mm-hmm.
on, trying to find a partner. My focus is just to learn who I am
Yeah.
and what I want, what I truly
Mhm.
want.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
what does Ricky want at 30 years old? What
Mhm.
does that look like?
Mhm.
And right now it's just I want to focus on getting better. I want to focus on getting healthier. I want to
Mhm.
focus on building up my career. I want to be more focused and goal oriented on the things that improve my life, not necessarily
Mhm.
just my dating circle.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So,
Kind of expanding your sphere of interest to more than just kind of that romantic portion of your
right.
life, but really kind of looking at yourself holistically and addressing all the areas that make you the wonderful person that you are.
Yes.
Mhm.
I think that's the one thing that, again, I was lacking in. I was
Mhm.
so, you said it, that I was so, you get wrapped up in the relationship, so you get
Yeah.
focused on making sure the relationship is good, because
Mhm.
that's a job too. It's, having a successful relationship, or a good relationship, takes work. And
Mhm.
we both were putting in the work to keep that relationship going, and being available for one another when we needed it. um but now I can take all that energy that I was using in the relationship and put it into me now,
Mhm. Absolutely.
and focus on the things that I was lacking in, or rebuild the things that I needed to rebuild on in my own life. So yeah, it's really the new focus for me that I'm just
Mhm.
excited about experiencing and doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that based on the experience that you've had in this relationship that there would be any change or adjustment to your boundaries or your standards in future relationships?
Yes. Being Having a higher level of discernment, asking tougher questions.
Mm.
Maybe not early, not the first week. It's like, hey, what's your 401k? Like, hey, do you have a savings? But it's more or less, learning about what I really want, and the things that I
Mhm.
cannot 100% compromise on.
Mhm.
That's the thing for me. I used to kind of try to do this mental gymnastics. Is like, well, I heard something that this person said that kind of gave me a little bit of, like, cause to pause.
Right.
How can I trick myself into saying that this is okay, when in reality it's not okay for you?
Mhm.
And that is the next step for me, and just having a level of discernment to say, hey, you know what, this is something that I do not agree with.
Right.
This is something that I don't want in my relationship.
Mhm.
Um this is something that I need in my relationship, and being okay to say, hey, I don't think you're able to give that to me. I don't think you're in the headspace to give that to me,
Mhm.
or we just don't click in that level, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And you're not a bad person. I'm not a
Mhm.
bad person.
Mhm.
It's just we are not true matches right now, or
Sure.
we might not be ever. But it's just time for me to move on from you, because it is this is not what I want in my relationship.
Do you feel like because you've gone through this relationship and now you kind of are more fine-tuned in terms of what you want and focusing on getting what you want, when you notice those flags, do you think that that would cause you to act more quickly, to address those things in future relationships?
Yes, the goal is to try to act quickly, because it's for me, it's new. It's a new thing
Mhm.
for me, so I
Mhm.
struggle on trying to still say, hey, this is something that I don't really agree with, and this is something that I don't want to be dealing with in my relationship.
Mhm.
Um, I hear it all the time from everybody. Don't waste my time.
Yeah.
Do not waste my time. I understand that phrase, but want to I also want to say, like, hey, sometimes we have to waste a little time to get to know each other too,
Sure.
and asking better questions. But it's this weird juggling act of, you know, you move fast enough, for somebody, but you also have to, have a little bit of mystery about who they are as a person. We don't
Mhm.
want to, at least I don't want to meet somebody and have this giant interview process.
Right.
Like I'm trying to get a job at Google or something. Like, I don't
Right.
want to go through like a 5 stage like interview process. You do the
Right.
phone call, then you do the face to
Right.
face, then you do the
Right.
technical one. Like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I want to just get to know you organically.
Right.
And when I see the red flag, I want to ask a question about it and see what your mindset is. But after that, if it's something that I don't agree with, being able to find the words to say, hey, this is something that I don't agree with,
Mhm.
and find the right words to say it. But just saying, hey, this is something that I don't necessarily want to have in my relationship. I think you're a wonderful person. However, I don't think it's best for me and you to move forward in this
Mhm.
space, because I would like to have XYZ thing. So
Mhm.
yeah, just trying to have a higher level of discernment, move quickly enough to, if I see the red flag, ask that question. And if I do not like the answer, be confident enough to say it's done.
Yeah.
Because as my dad said multiple times after I told him about the breakup, there's plenty of fish, man. You gonna be all right. Young, hey man, you just young. So that's that's all he would say to me. But um, yeah, I just having a higher level of discernment and
Yeah,
just asking the better questions, the harder questions that are uncomfortable sometimes, but
sure.
just doing that.
And I'm hearing kind of this undertone as well of being able to trust yourself and to
Yes.
trust the intuition and kind of that inner voice that says, "Man, this isn't feeling right. This isn't what I think," or "Ooh, I'm seeing things that remind me of this," or "You're not getting what you want. What do we say about that?" So kind of just that kind of internal piece that's keeping you accountable to what
Yes.
you've committed and promised to yourself.
Yes. Holding myself accountable to all the things that we are discussing today is going to be the toughest challenge for me by far.
Yeah.
Because it's easy on paper, it sounds good on paper,
Hmm.
but when you actually have to put those words into action,
Yes.
it's hard. Everyone you
Mhm.
can. I used to play football, high school football. I'm not that special, but like I used to play when I used to play football. We would practice all the time, and we would practice certain situations, certain scenarios. When this person moves up, this is what you handle. If this person's in this gap, you double team. But it's all good, and it sounds great when you're going against scout team or air, or you're
Mhm.
just going against nobody. But when you actually have to like compete against somebody or go against somebody in real time, sometimes that don't work out. It just
Right.
doesn't.
Exactly.
And I can say all the things that I just said right now, but it don't mean a thing if I don't act on it.
Yeah.
And then I will be in the same situation that I was in um a few months ago, where
Mhm.
I didn't do the proper discernment. I didn't have enough strength or the words or the verbiage to say, this is something that I want to have in a relationship. You're not giving this to me right now. Therefore,
Mhm.
I need to step back from this.
Mhm.
Um, if I do not act that way, then all of this growth and all of this, you know, evolution in the next chapter of my life will feel like I'm slowing the process down because I'm
Mhm.
not acting and having those hard conversations and doing those hard things that are foreign to me. But you can only get good at something or get better at something if you actually do it.
Right.
It takes
Absolutely.
practice. It takes
Practice makes
practice.
perfect.
Perfect
Absolutely.
practice makes perfect. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
one more segue into kind of a final section of this episode. You have kind of alluded and talked a little bit about kind of some of the emotional experiences that you've had related to kind of separating from this relationship. But talk a little bit more in depth, if you don't mind, about how the breakup has affected your mental health and how you're kind of managing that.
Uh, it's affected my mental health for sure. There are moments where I feel I think for me, I've always viewed my parents' relationship as the standard in my life
Mhm.
because my
Mhm.
parents have been married for over 40 years.
Mhm.
Um, and seeing their ups and downs and their trials and tribulations and their love. And they got married at 24, so I feel like I'm already behind schedule, if that's even a
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it messes with me. One my closest friend, they got married at 20, and
Mhm.
they've been married for 10 years. They've been together since they were high school sweethearts. Um, it messes with me because I think sometimes it's like, well, what else can I do to fix? What can I work on me that will make me a better spouse, a better partner? You
Mhm.
know, when is it the right time for me to get married and build up that family and things like that? Um,
It's interesting that you say that because it's kind of like we always hear that women have kind of this biological clock that's driving them because it's related to wanting to have children and
mhm.
get married, be someone's wife. And so they feel this pressure and they look at their friends and social media and they see all these people getting engaged and married. And that adds extra pressure But it sounds like you're kind of saying that you, as a guy, you also kind of have this sense of timeline, and that there are certain things that should be happening at a certain time. And if it's not, you are questioning yourself.
Yes, and I chalked that feeling up to a few different factors. So one is that my parents, they they're a little bit older.
Hmm.
They just my dad's gonna turn 70 this year. My mom's gonna turn 69 this year. Um, and you know, I love my parents, but I also know that I've had a lot of health scares with my family.
Mm.
Particularly with my dad. He had a heart transplant in 2020 during the
Wow.
middle of the pandemic.
Wow.
I did not know if he was going to be here today, but I'm so blessed that he is
Absolutely.
here today.
Absolutely.
And my mother, she had colon cancer when I was in
Mm.
7th grade. She had stage 3 colon cancer.
Wow.
And I, again, blessed that she is here with me today.
Hmm.
And I always felt, because of the time, and it's like, how much time do we have left? How many moments do I have left with my family? I don't necessarily believe in I got 10 years, 15 years, 20 years with my
Right.
parents. I don't believe in that. I believe in moments,
Of course.
because things can change. I may have 3,500 phone calls left with my mom. I could have
Hmm.
3 left
Yeah.
with my mom, and I just don't know, because that's just
Right.
life. You just don't know what's going on. But I used to have this sense of responsibility that I have to move faster because I want them to be there to experience this with me. And I told my mom that right around the time that me and my ex broke up. And she did the best thing she could have ever done for me, which was she lifted that burden off of me.
Mm.
She said, "You do not have to rush into something. You do not have to move faster for us because of our age and our health." And she gave me the look of, "We're good.
Hmm.
We're okay. You do not have to have that burden on you.
Mm.
So go out there and find the right person for you, no matter what." And I'm so glad that that burden was taken off of me, because
Hmm.
at times I felt like I had to move faster for them.
Mm.
And in reality, I probably shouldn't have moved as fast as I should have in certain relationships.
Right.
Um,
But it sounds like the burden was self-imposed. It
it
doesn't seem like
was.
your parents ever were saying anything that would make you feel like, oh, I've got to get this stuff done and produce a child for them and
Yes,
all of this kind of stuff.
it that's the thing. It was self-imposed. And
Hmm.
because I saw, from my perspective, I saw so many things that were happening in our family's life that I was
Hmm.
just like, well, I got to move faster for them because I just don't know.
Hmm.
And sometimes your mind can play tricks on you, can play very dirty, self-destructing tricks on you.
Hmm.
Um, and no one, because I never really expressed that to my parents like that. I never really had that level of adult conversation with them and talking about what I
Hmm.
wanted, you
Hmm.
know, in a relationship. I do want to get married. That's a clear thing.
Hmm.
But I also want to get married to the right person that I'm happy with,
Absolutely.
and that I get as much as I possibly can out of them, and they can get as much as they can out of me.
Hmm.
Um, it was a self-imposed that I look back in past relationships of saying, like, well, you know what? If I just had a mindset of just experiencing it and enjoying the moment with this person, maybe the relationship would be a little bit better, or you can look back on it and
Hmm.
with a different level of a different view on everything.
Hmm.
Not just as simple as, oh, this didn't work, therefore it just wasn't the right person. Now it's time to move on and get faster on the next person. No, I did that before. That's how I got into the situation that I'm in now. Now I want to move slow.
Yeah.
And it's kind of ironic that one of the conversations we were having was that she wanted to move a little bit slower, but I wanted to try to have a higher level of pace.
Hmm.
And now, since the relationship is over, I can take that and say, you know what, this is now a mindset that I want to have in my own relationship.
Hmm.
moving a little bit, maybe not as slow, but
Right,
definitely
right,
moving moving
right.
with a little bit of little less sense of urgency, because
Urgency, yes.
it's not urgent right now.
Mhm,
My level of urgency is focused on my health. That's the
mhm,
number one thing for me. So, and my mental health too. So
mhm,
that's where I'm going to have that gazelle like intensity with it.
mhm.
But when it comes down to my relationships, it's okay.
Yeah,
If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'll find the right person
absolutely.
eventually.
You absolutely
Um,
will.
so I'm not too focused on that, but I want to focus on becoming the best version of who I am. So,
You've alluded to it, you've talked about it, so I don't even know if I really need to ask this question about the value of your support system
mhm.
and in the communities that have been helpful to you and for you during this time of kind of repair and healing.
Yes, I've talked about it a lot, but I think it's such, and maybe because we just hung out. Full disclosure, we just hung out
Right,
last night, and we
right.
had such a beautiful, wonderful, little long conversation. um, but it was just a lot of having that group
Yeah.
there for me, and uh, I struggle with reaching out, saying that I need this, or I would love for someone to come over here and just talk and things like that. And you reminded me that, yeah, we're here for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, you can talk to
Absolutely.
us. You are not a pariah. You are not a
Mhm.
package deal. You're not only here for certain moments. You are in the group because we love you, and we support you, and we appreciate you, and we want to be there for you in any way we can. And it's been so valuable. I don't know if we can name anybody in there, but
Oh,
Matt,
absolutely.
I know our friend Matt. He was, and probably because of the connections that we had together, um, he was one of the first people that I reached out to about it,
Mhm.
and he was one of the first people that wanted to just check in on me and see how I was doing.
Yeah, of
Um, Tyrone, a lot of the men in the group for sure
course.
we're just checking in and just seeing how it's feeling, and the women in the group,
Mhm.
Shayla and yourself, and the Jeffersons in general, the Williams,
Mhm.
everybody just was so real. Oh, they were just so available for me,
Yeah.
and I words can't express how much I appreciated that.
Mhm.
Because I do know that if I didn't have this group in my life, or I wasn't a part of this circle, I don't know how well I would be handling the relationship
Sure.
breakup right now. That's just I'm just being honest about it. I don't
Yeah.
know if I had this level of support, if I didn't have this, because there are some men right now that don't have this kind of support system
Mhm.
sometimes, and I did it too. Sometimes when we get into a relationship, sometimes our friend group kind of shifts, right?
Yeah.
And we can
Yeah.
be very focused. We can be focused strictly on the relationship and making sure
Mhm.
that the relationship is good. But we neglect our circle.
Mhm.
And I am so blessed that I'm not in that situation, but I know that there are some people right now that don't have the circle that I have, that don't have people that are willing to listen and ask questions and be empathetic, and also giving me a sense of, hey, you got to take ownership on this too,
Mhm.
because I wasn't perfect in the relationship either.
Right. Right.
and
Absolutely.
and being honest about it, and saying, hey, we love you regardless. We're gonna check you when you do something wrong.
Mhm.
We're gonna be open. We're gonna support you when you do something right, and we're gonna be here for you regardless, because we care about you.
Mhm.
And I just pray whoever is going through that, if they're hearing it right now, if you don't know who your circle is, try to find them. And if you know who your circle is, reach out to them, because
Mhm.
they're waiting for you. They
Yeah.
want to help you, and you need
Yeah.
to be vocal in saying that you're hurting or you're going through something.
Yeah.
Because closed mouths don't get fed.
That's
We can't
right.
we can't help unless you tell us what you need us to be
What you
helpful
need.
with. Yeah,
Exactly. How you need us to show up.
yeah.
Well, what would be a message that you would share with somebody who's listening to this podcast who might be going through the exact same experience?
Oh man, I gave you something very small, but I would really tell anybody, um, that it's okay. It's okay
Mhm.
that your emotions are a little bit everywhere right now. It's
Mhm.
okay that it's, especially for me, it's been almost 2.5 months now. It's
Okay.
okay to feel weird about it. It's
Mhm.
okay to just feel like just to feel like everything it was all good just a week ago. It's
Mhm.
okay to have that feeling, but just saying that it's okay to move forward. And your another thing is that your emotions matter too. Your desires of your heart matter too. If it doesn't have to mean, it doesn't mean if it wasn't perfect. Nothing in life is perfect, but if you know that there are certain things you want in a relationship and it's not giving you the level of fulfillment that you need and you want,
Mhm.
it's okay to walk away from it, no matter how much you care about that person or love that person. It's okay
Right.
to walk away from it. It
Right.
may be hard. It's still extremely hard. Even now, thinking and talking about this today, it's been something that I've been thinking about all day about.
Mhm.
It's hard. I
Yeah.
will I will actively I will actively say right now it is hard. But it is so much more important for you to go through this journey and this trial right now
Mhm.
so you can be better the next time around.
Yeah.
Um so those are the things I would definitely tell to anybody.
Yeah.
Also get a dog. Yeah, get a
Yes.
dog, get a
And get a
cute
dog.
dog, get a good dog with a good personality
Yeah.
and that's cute and is excited and all that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I appreciate so much that you were willing to have this conversation as I was thinking about the rebrand of the podcast and
Mhm.
some of the topics that I wanted to cover and who I wanted to approach about joining the episodes. I immediately thought of you because I knew about your situation. And then I also kind of pulled myself back and said, well, Trisha, you might not be ready to talk about those kinds of things. And so I just appreciate how open you've been and how willing you've been to kind of go there and share the experience and your vulnerability and your concerns, your anxieties about it. But most importantly, I think what is infectious is the positivity, and I really admire how excited you are about moving forward and what the future holds for you. And so that leads me to kind of my final question about, well, what are you looking forward to now in terms of this new chapter of your life?
Oh man. First of all, thank you for reaching out to me about this. I've I've told a lot of people, mainly my parents and some close friends, that I was going to do this. How excited I was to actually have an opportunity to kind of speak on this in a little bit of a
Yeah.
long form.
Yeah.
With I'm to answer your question, what I'm excited about the most about this next journey is just I feel that I turn I'm big on milestones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm big on the big moments. Year 30, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna turn 31 in September,
Okay.
and I am looking at chapter 30. I've grown so much,
Mm-hmm.
but I felt like this chapter was the prologue for what the next 30, 40, 50 years of my life are going to be. Um, And the biggest thing I'm excited about the most is that I get to write the book. I get
Mm-hmm.
to write the chapters. I get to write it in my own way. I get to have a stronger and a better understanding of who I am as a person
Mm-hmm.
and honing in on how I feel and not be so timid
Yeah.
about speaking up for myself and speaking on my emotions and being able to walk away from things
Mm-hmm.
and saying, you know what, this is not what I want. This ain't it. And I can move on.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm excited about learning about new things that I want to do,
Right.
traveling to new cities, new countries, being a little bit more fearless in my life and taking those broad strokes and taking those leaps of faith. Whether it's in my personal life, in my career, in my health journey, in my faith walk, just being more open about
Mhm.
everything and being willing to make that change. We talked about the chameleon
Yeah.
earlier during our conversation. Um, but having the ability to adapt, having the ability to make those changes in my life, and some of those be changes that are sticking for the better. You
Mhm.
know, another thing that I got from my relationship is better skincare, and I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm taking those things that I'm learning that even though I cared about it, I didn't care nearly as much as I care about it now.
Mhm.
But just taking those little things and adding that towards who I am as a person,
Mhm.
and just creating a new foundation. So whenever that next person shows up, whether it's 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 8 years from now, I don't know, and I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. I care
Mhm.
that I'm in the right headspace, that I am in a healthier space for my body, physically and emotionally and mentally and socially.
Mhm.
Just going out more. Just Yeah, I get excited about it because it's just something that I felt like in my 20s I didn't take advantage of the time that I had in my 20s. I was
Mhm.
always focused on one thing after the other. I felt like everything was deferred because of my past decisions in my life. Now I'm 30, career's going well, the world's my oyster, and now I get to attack and do the things that I want to do. Um, yeah, I'm just excited about writing the story. I'm really excited about writing the story right now.
Man, I love that. I think that's such a great way to kind of wind down our discussion is putting all of this in terms of a story. And as you think about some of the books that you've read in the past and the ones that really have kept your interest, they aren't ones that have the same storyline all the way through with no major ups and downs, and everything just always ends up perfect. I know that I'm attracted to the stories that have the twists and turns and the unexpected and the, oh my gosh, no, did that really happen? Things you weren't even thinking of that occur, and then twist endings that you thought it was going to be one way but you find out it's something else. I think those are the stories that capture our attention and are the most fun to read and the most enjoyable. So I think this life that you're living is full of the twists and turns and the hills and the valleys, but you are attacking the adventure of life and you are attacking the journey with such optimism and positivity and energy and motivation that it doesn't matter what you're faced with. I think that you're going to get through it marvelously, but you're also going to have fun doing it and you're going to learn a lot of lessons doing it. And that's what it's about. That's what the learning curve is about. That's what this life is about. And I'm so happy that you are in that space of continued learning and experience and growth. So thank you so much for coming on the episode. I appreciated you and your vulnerability, your openness, and your transparency. I know for sure that this episode is really going to be helpful to a lot of people who have gone through similar things or are currently going through or are thinking of entering into the same space that you are in. And so thank you so much for sharing the information with us. And for you listeners out there, please make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Learning Curve PCast. Or if you want to send me a private message, you ladies, if you want to know a little bit more about Ricky, send me a private email to our email at the learning curve pcast at gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening. Share, subscribe, talk about it with your friends, talk about it with your communities. Hit me up if you think you have a story about the learning curve that you want to share and the lessons that you've taken from it. In the meantime, everybody, embrace the curves. Yay, we're done.